Welcome, everyone. If you could join me in a moment of silence for men and women in uniform. Thank you. We'll call the meeting to order at 4 minutes after 6. John, you want to talk about the adjustments to the agenda?
Yeah, just have one for an executive session on 4056E for legal.
You'll hand that stuff out when we go in?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. I'd like to have a motion to review, approve the minutes from July 1st meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the July 1st, 2019 regular meeting minutes with any corrections or additions.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed. Public to speak for non-agenda items. Speak now, forever hold your peace. Thank you.
Till next meeting.
Number 5, boards and committees, nothing. Number 6, consent items. One change in your paperwork here, it's not Alice Smith for cemetery committee, it's Denise Mercier. So as you look at that, you might want to make a change there. So we'll start with that. The boards and committee appointments. Go individually, please.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the request for appointment submitted by Denise Mercier for the Cemetery Committee for a term ending, do we need to indicate?
6/30/22.
6/30/22.
Second?
Any discussion? Questions? All in favor? Ann Ladd for cemetery committee.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve Ann Ladd for the Cemetery Committee for a term of 3 years, ending on 6/30/2022.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor? Larry Koo, Airport Commission.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the request for appointment submitted by Larry Koo for the Airport Commission for a term ending, is it 3 years?
Yes.
6/30/2022.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Moved. And Donnie Nuttall for Ordinance Committee. I would like to move that Donnie Nuttall have his head examined one more time for the Ordinance Committee. Thank you for your service.
No problem.
Was that the nomination?
I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you, Donnie. All in favor? To vote. We have a thank you note from the fire department to the fire department, and I'm going to start off by apologizing. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but I would like to read it to you. It says, "To our volunteers, thank you so much for your quick response and saving our home. We were so impressed," and I'm not quite sure how this works, so it may sound broken and I apologize, but we were so impressed when we arrived home and the only trace that you had saved us was the smell of burnt sugar. It says, "Rangeley is so lucky to have such a dedicated and professional team. Gratefully, Dave and Carol."
Batchelder.
Say it again?
Batchelder.
Well, there you go. We all tried to figure that out. I can say that, bachelor. But, yeah, thank you. It's nice to get these letters. These guys do work hard, guys and gals. Old business. Nothing under downtown revitalization unless somebody on the board has something to report. Okay. Allen Street, Jeff Preble from Wright Pierce. You here with us?
I am here, yes.
Give us a little update on Wright Pierce. No? John, why don't you fill in the blanks then? We'll go from there.
Yeah, we had a bid opening, and as you may have already seen, the bids are quite M&H got the low bid. We, Jeff, went down through the spreadsheets and compared them. we were to cut a little bit out of M&H's bid and show you how much was the water district's responsibility, how much was the sewer district's responsibility, and still down quite a bit higher than money we had estimated a few years ago, so. I believe, Keith, it was like 790, 750 was the estimate to do Allen Street. And low bid is $1,300,000, and that includes like holding off on the finished pavement for another year or two as well, so. And then, also with that was a construction administration proposal from Wright Pierce. That's over the next few pages. I believe the town share of that would be like 60.
It's in the,
Eight,
the
yeah.
third leaf.
So we have construction administration for the town, 25,000, resident inspection, 62,400, total of 87,400. And then the water district's portion, another 22,037, 375 rather. Construction, resident inspection, 41, that's 63. So a total engineering, 151,375. And then, Jeff had put in on our behalf grant request for those culverts out on Ball Mountain Road, and the state awarded us both. So each one is worth $95,000 grant from the state. But we would still have to estimate total cost, I believe it was like $200,000 for each one, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
So 200,000 for each one, we get 95 from the state, we're still responsible for another 100-something thousand. So those three items, lead me to look at also Little Lake Road, given the estimates. Since M&H got the low bid, we get a pretty good current figure for all the different unit costs for all the components that go into a road. And that road, both roads are about the same distance. The only thing different would be there's no utilities on Lake, but you still have sidewalk, you still have box cutting, you still have pavement, fill. So we could probably come up with a pretty good estimate for what that's gonna be as well, with current numbers. And then, hope we get the Northern Border grant, because even with that, it looks like we're gonna be $500,000 short, given what we just saw on Allen Street. That's my
One of the
summation.
reasons for the Allen Street cost being up is, where we combined with the water district got their grant through the drinking water SRF program, and attached to that is requirements for Davis-Bacon wages and that sort of thing. And some of those wage rates that are in there are very high, just because of lack of response to some of the surveys that the state gets back. That's one of the reasons. I mean, contractors are also very busy. It's not the optimal time to be bidding work here. So I'm sure that's reflected in the prices there as well.
What's your note here, Jeff, about possible cost reduction, getting rid of a little bit of Davis-Bacon?
Yeah, that was one of the options that we may want to consider, is if we look at the paving piece of it, you may be able to break that out under a separate contract, and if that's just a town contract itself, detached from water district portion, then it wouldn't be susceptible to wouldn't be required to have the Davis-Bacon wages. So there's a potential to drop those paving prices down if we did that separately. But of course, that brings in extra coordination with different contractors and stuff, that is always something you gotta work through, but That may be something that you wish to consider if you're still looking to, you know, pare down some of the pricing.
Kind of time does that add to a project that's already pushed in the middle of summer? for start date?
It wouldn't necessarily add a lot of, because we can get a lot of the utility work and stuff going and get that piece of it in the works, well, you know, once construction gets started.
So you'd
So
be,
it wouldn't really extend the time. You're still looking at, talking with Kenny after the bid, they were thinking of starting down to lower end and working their way up to about School Street here this fall, and then picking up from School Street up to the top of the hill there in the spring to complete it. So it's you know, you look at the fall construction, then the spring construction, so you get about, you know, 6.5 months of construction total there to watch over.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On M&H's, I see they blued out stuff that's we're gonna do, or is gonna be put off for a year or so.
Right, yeah.
But one of them kind of interests me is 6-inch sewer services and 8-inch PVC server. Why was that? Is that something the town's gonna do?
We were planning on replacing the sewer services all the way up through.
I would hope so, yeah.
And then the cost for that would be by the sewer commission.
Uh-huh,
And the 8-inch PVC sewers up at the top, we want to extend out beyond to the adjacent property, and that would be by the developer.
okay. So it's not the whole street, it's just part that, the upper end of it?
The services would be along the whole street.
Right, I understand that,
Yeah.
but
But
you're
the
gonna
8-inch
run a
piece-
spur off it somewhere?
Yeah, right at the top, up
Okay.
by the Saddleback View.
Okay.
you're extending the main at the top of the road.
Yeah.
And another
And
thing.
same with the water line there too.
And another thing here, I see M&H's, you know, they blued out a few things, so their price is a little less, or a lot less in some cases, but the total water systems items, 36 through 46, 326,000 from M&H, and 633,000 from Sargent, and 821,000 from Pratt? It's the same job, right? I don't understand how they can be that far apart.
They've got plenty of work. Very busy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, some contractors will bid projects and hope that they're the only bidder and give
Yeah.
us, you know, a hefty
Okay.
profit margin, so I mean, I think that kind of played into Pratt's.
Okay, it just stands out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Ronnie, just so you know, Jeff blew those out.
Yeah,
He did
yeah,
that.
I figured,
Eliminate
yeah,
it.
okay. Those I understand, except for that one, and why this is
There
only.
was several highlights on M&H's bid, and a lot of it was round off areas.
Yeah,
So when we're checking the unit prices, going down through, just the extensions didn't quite add up to what they had written in their bid form.
Okay.
So it just ended up being like $100 less than what we read off at the bid opening.
yeah.
Cindy?
Jeff, just to follow up on a comment you made earlier, you mentioned something about the timing not being advantageous to the town, and you also kind of inferred to that a little bit. Are you saying that, you know, the bidding should have gone out several months ago so that these contractors could plan ahead and submit more competitive bids?
Ideally, you know, if you can bid something in the winter months, I mean, that's when you're gonna get your best pricing, the contractors are lining stuff up. In this case, by the time the, you know, coordinate with the district and when the SRF program was announced, you know, what their awards and stuff were, so that kind of finalized their funding, and that was in April or something, I think, Al? That we finally got word from the drinking water program that they had awarded the grant and that sort of thing. So we kind of got delayed by that, and then once we got that information, then we were able to get the project out on the street.
Yeah. So, yeah, a little crunchy for project this year. So is it, I mean, obviously we don't have any money, we don't have all the money for this.
If the plan from M&H is to only go as far as School Street, from Main to school, yeah, we have money to do that part of it, but then you have to, my guess is we're gonna have to raise more money to finish some of these projects, given the prices that are out there. They're by far higher than what we had originally estimated. I think that's typical. I mean, these were done, what, 3 years ago at least? The original 2.1 million. I had the same problem in Mexico. The first one we did few years later, we had to borrow another 800,000 just to finish projects within the original scope. And I got a CDBG grant for 500,000 in the meantime. So, I mean, the prices vary every year.
So would it be in the town's best interest to rebid this out this winter?
Could get worse.
We could, my advice would be, have to keep an eye and, maybe with Jeff's help, try to really look at all the road projects that were originally estimated to figure out where we stand and how much more money we may need. And then decide whether you want to go ask the town to borrow some more money.
You said you had something?
I said it could get worse. You
Could get worse.
You could do this again, and it could be 2.5 Pratts could be the low bid next time.
That's true. So, we have to finish paving Ball Mountain. We have to probably come up with at least $200,000 for our share of replacing those box culverts. Well, right now they're just round culverts, but the ones that are now legal for streams that run constantly. So, we've got 500,000 for Loon Lake, and we may soon find out about the Northern Borders grant we put in for 500,000, but given the prices, it looks like it's going to be at least
$500,000 short.
$1.5 million
Yep.
in that neighborhood. And so far, with the estimates that we had given the grant, it was 5 and 5, and our share was going to be 60,000, and M&H was going to put up 50,000 and whatever materials, whatever they were going to come up with 50,000. So, we might need to borrow another $1 million. But the town 2 years in a row now voted overwhelmingly to put all your excise tax revenue into future road projects. So if that goes 2 more years, or 3 more years, or 4 more years, I think you need to ask the town that, because they obviously are very behind doing these roads.
But the excise tax is paying the bond payment.
That's what I was told, but the actual wording in the town meeting warrant says to go into a road reserve fund for future road projects.
Yeah,
And
We
last
checked
year's
that
town
today.
meeting, it was like 345 to
You're right, Dave.
24 was the vote. With
So-
nine blank.
We did this with the understanding that
Yeah,
excise tax would be able to pay the bond.
Dave's right.
So, my understanding is what we've done so far, the money we've taken out is more like a letter of credit or something?
It's like a construction loan.
Yeah, so then eventually we start paying that back.
Right.
And so if we have the excise tax money in that reserve fund, then when we need to start paying it back, we'll take it out of that, obviously. Because you didn't, you don't have any account for debt service,
Right.
so that's not how you did it, so.
What's the balance on that?
I believe we have, what, $1.3 million maybe left in that?
In the construction, I think it's about 1.3 million left to spend.
So out of the 2.1 million, there's still 1.3 million unspent. So that's why I said, if we wanted to approve M&H's contract and knowing they're only gonna go as far as School Street this year, there's plenty of money there, and there's plenty of money there to stop doing those box culverts.
Kind of have to do the box culverts because they're a grant.
That, their grant, and the Loon Lake Road, we got 500,000 already signed for DOT. That's all money in Rangeley's pocket.
When does that have to start by?
18, we have all of this construction season and all our next construction season.
So here's what I'd suggest for the next meeting, is to come back with the numbers and show where they're dedicated to. So Ball Mountain Road is this, and this is the amount of money we have, and this is what we think is the remaining. You with me, Keith?
Yes, sir.
And same thing for Allen Street, for Loon Lake Road, and whatever other projects, there's a finishing component to Lake Street. and then see where,
Just so you know, we just got a quote from Pike for $25,000 to finish coat on lake and Boulder. So that's, we know what that's gonna cost. So Keith's looking into another paving outfit too.
So we could do the box culverts, but not do the finished grade on Ball Mountain.
Which
That would
was,
be-
which was part of the plan anyway, given some of the frost movement this year.
Let it set for a few years before we final cover it.
When this spring showed some evidence of separation in that center line. So we have Pike looking at some corrective actions on that. So our plan is not to pave it, surface until at least next year. That way allow hopefully those box culverts, or I say box culverts, but those stream crossings to be replaced. And then again, we have to make sure all that movement in the ground has become null, and we can correct anything else that has to be done throughout that process. And as we continue to work on Ball Mountain Road, we're not potentially chewing up that surface coat. We can continue to work off of that base coat.
Makes sense.
Make some more progress.
absolutely, no disagreement on your plan of action, but a question constantly comes up from some folks that, all right, what's this gonna cost us? How much is left? And what do we have to raise? And that's what I'm getting to.
That's what we need to come up with.
So you're right, so if we could come up with a worksheet for our next meeting, then we'll be able to have a discussion knowing what the figures are and what our estimates are at today's value.
That includes numbers from Jeff with the Davis-Bacon removed for certain parts.
Yeah, I
Let's figure
mean,
that
as
out.
much information as we could possibly put down so we have something to work with and make some decisions.
I got something to add to that. Can we wait 2 weeks to do this? Or should we be,
I don't think we have any choice, to be honest with you.
I agree.
I don't think we have any choice. I'll get to you in a second, Mark. So if you're all in agreement with that, do you need it defined any clearer as to what we're looking for, or does that pretty much cover the bases?
No, it pretty much covers the bases. I mean, you need to know what the realistic
Yeah.
Realistic,
cost is gonna be before you know what to do.
yeah, and Rebecca can give you some finer numbers as to what the data, what the finances show. Mark?
I think that's a good idea to check in and see where we're at with all of this stuff, and, we've got these high priority roads that are kind of in flux right now that you're concentrating on, but I think we ought to look at the entire list that the voters approved too, and just, they're a few years down, but just look at their estimates and look at the estimates on the ones we're doing, and, maybe update them a little bit, so we're talking about reality.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I just don't think you ought to just look at, the top 4 that you're working with right now, but, spend a little time on the other ones as well.
I remember seeing a sheet, the original ratings had
Yeah.
like 1s, 2s, 3s for different,
That's correct.
yeah,
I
I
remember
believe the ones we were talking about were all 1s, so top priority. So I think, what was one we were looking at a month ago, you and I and Earl,
Right.
which one was that? What street was that?
Alpine Way, not Alpine Way.
Alpine Way,
Alpine
yeah,
Way.
I can't remember the name of it. Well, we're looking at that to do that this year too.
All right, the other thing I want to need clarification on is Dave and Cindy's comment that the excise tax money is dedicated to paying the bond. That makes a difference in terms of,
The payment comes, it's set up in a fund to account, so it rolls over each year. It's being paid from that.
right. I guess my point is this, if the thought process from this board is, well, we have excise money to pay for this thing, when we really don't, because the excise money is dedicated for the next X amount of years, then we have to look at that in terms of our future planning.
It's right around $250,000 that come out of the excise each year for payment, but there is money.
What's the
You
remainder?
collect more money in excise.
Okay,
than-
so that information,
Yes.
again, will be part of the educational process for us.
The last audit showed 359,000 in excise revenue.
Yeah, okay.
So if we allocated, what, 250?
Yeah.
So that's an extra $100,000 that could go into these future road projects.
that would work.
Hang on, everybody, 1 second. Okay. Mark?
Almost.
Yes?
I I just wanna let you guys know, I also reached out to Leanna about, an extension or, adding more money to the construction loan and what fees would be or interest rate would be. Would it change the interest rate? So we're also looking at that.
Good, thank you.
And we get about $32,000 a year from DOT that has to go in the road construction project, so that's another thing to consider, there's that little extra money there.
So, in my mind, if we see a spreadsheet similar to,
Yeah.
we could pretty much follow along. It will answer the questions of the public as to what are our priority roads, where the money's dedicated to. We can just refer back to that each time we get a question, because I know you've asked questions, Mark, where I'm going, I don't know. And I don't really have a sheet to look at. Cindy will remember, and I'm sure Dave and Donnie will, but there's a couple of us here. Yes, go ahead.
I seem to recall, and Dave, I don't know if you remember the same thing, or Donnie, but it was expected that all of the excise tax revenue that was collected in a given year was going to be used to pay down this debt. It's not a bond, it's a construction loan with the expectation it would be paid off early. Not that there was just a designated amount. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Actually, I think we knew that we were gonna have a 2-year period, possibly 3 before
Yep.
we had to start making the payment, so there could be potential for an extra 500 to
right.
750,000 that would build up before we had to start making payments.
Well, we clearly need that cleared up, because that changes the dynamics of the excise tax completely. At least in the conversations we've had, Alaska.
Do we have any extra
I
debt
have
on
to
that?
look. We started making, the first year was interest only, then you start making payments on what you borrow the second.
Right.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm very pleased to hear, though, that the town got the $95,000, the full grant amount that we requested there in the Bell Mountain project, so that's,
Yeah,
that's
we were
excellent
too.
news for sure, so.
You bet.
I expect over the next couple of weeks, we'll be getting some further information from them after their appeal period ends, and then we can kind of set up a schedule and stuff for getting that one finished up.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Move down to Lanza judgment.
Tom is in his office, in case anybody has any questions. He went to court last week on the town's attorney.
I'm sure you've all had time to read this. There's they had 3 options here. Tom had asked town manager John if we should be contacting legal, but to me, this is very clear. There's just 3 options. I don't think we need to get any more legal into it, but what's your thoughts, folks? Do you want to ask some questions of Tom?
No, I just want to know where they came up with this amount, the fine.
Yeah, that was my question.
No.
I agree.
Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with Donnie on the
Yep.
question.
Yep.
Did Tom come up with this?
No.
No, this is the
our attorney-
judgment.
Our attorney
No,
came
no,
up
no, on
with
the
it.
front page. Of the 3,
That's his assessment of the, he's just
Right.
giving us a
I
paraphrase.
understand that.
If you read the,
But it's got a figure in here for the fine, and I don't think it's enough.
Well, $1,000 fine and attorney fees was an incentive for them to.
But we spent more than
Yeah.
that. Tom going friggin' around with this.
If you look on the actual judgment from the court,
Yep.
the third option says $100 a day violation from the town's first notice, June 11, 2018 to July 11, 2019, for a total of $39,500.
Yep.
So that's if they do nothing.
True.
And then make them do it. And the judgment also says if they do nothing, then we can go in and clean it up and bill them, and then if they don't pay us, then it goes through like a tax lien process, eventually we own the property. So that's that's been already ruled in the court order. So that's a plus, so we've given them till August 11th, or the judge has, have till August 11th, and then if they don't do anything, then us and the state oil, MDEP oil and hazardous material specialist, we can both go in and take care of the problems, and then bill them for the cost.
So this 39,500, would the state take some of that for their work to do this, or does that all go to the town?
I don't know, that's just a fine, 39.5.
Yeah, but who gets?
I believe the $100 per day violation comes from our ordinance.
Right.
Can I just chime in on this one? On number 3 here, in accordance with Maine revised statutes,
Yeah.
that's what we're allowed to do. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So if the town, us, or whoever, says you're gonna pay $100 a day, there's the total,
Up to today.
okay? That doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're gonna do, I don't think. And if you need clarification on that, MMA will tell you what.
We can find out.
Right. Go ahead, Cindy.
Do the Lancers have legal representation?
We thought they did,
They didn't show
but they didn't show.
Neither did
Their
their
lawyer, nobody
But
showed.
no correspondence from any attorney acting on their behalf?
No, they didn't
question
show
I
up,
asked
but,
earlier today. The answer is no.
That's not a good thing
For
for them.
They did bring a couple of loads of stuff to the transfer station recently.
I brought 3 on Wednesday of last week and 4 on Thursday.
So they did that this week, but they didn't have anybody go to court with them.
So they haven't seen this then?
It's hard to.
Wow.
Honestly, don't know.
And what was the purpose, if you don't mind me asking, about 3 lawyers showing up at the transfer station?
I hadn't heard of that. This is the first time hearing of it. I'm not
I
aware of
haven't
that.
heard that either. 3 lawyers at the.
Well, didn't you just say that a few minutes ago?
Loans.
Oh, Lowe's. Well,
See,
thank
this
you
is
for
how rumors
clarifying.
get started.
Man, and didn't you think it was lawyers too?
No, I heard,
Oh,
no.
I'm sorry then. Just, let me turn them up. There we go. Yeah.
Tell me the bad joke.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is there's been an attempt to move forward.
Correct.
Yeah. And Richie's, you said the last meeting was counting all the loads.
Correct. Which that's where the data came from, was Rich once again.
All right.
He did say there's 3 loads on Wednesday and 4 more on Thursday.
I'm still talking to you about lawyers, and I heard the L, and there we go.
Well, I guess we just wait and see how this all shakes out.
So you all set with that?
I'm glad you asked that to clear that up. You would have been like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
3 lawyers, the transfer.
Would you have reported that, Afner? Thank you.
Tom's letter, excuse me, Mr. Chair.
I
Tom's,
heard it correctly, Steve.
Tom's letter says if the board of selectmen are in agreement, they could choose, are we in agreement? Is that?
Yes, we're going to support the code enforcement officer. Absolutely.
So they
Need
get
a
their
vote?
first choice, I guess?
No, I understand that, I didn't know if we were moving on and there was a formality we weren't meeting.
He's already moving on all this.
Okay.
This is already marching forward.
Yep.
This is his report to us about this.
She's planning on going tomorrow to present
Yep.
the option.
Okay,
Do we need a vote on this?
that's what I was.
I
Yeah,
think
I
so,
understand
because
that.
the court already ruled.
I know, but it says.
No,
the way
it's,
worded.
no, it's just
It's
if
worded.
we, yeah,
Yeah.
if they're in agreement, the Lancers could choose. It's just, if we wanted to circulate one, I guess we would tell them the following.
Well, then let's do that. Let's take a motion to agree with Tom's proposal.
Tricia just went down to his office to get him, in case you need to ask him.
Okay. Hi, Kenny. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Frog Rock.
I'm okay, Kyle's here, but I thought Joe was gonna be here.
Kyle's a good representative.
Yeah, he is.
She said you guys are gonna take 25% off the price.
Well,
That'll teach you not to
I
come.
think we already did.
we don't?
You said you
No?
don't need it.
Okay, good.
He says as long as you're happy with the 3 options, he was gonna present to him tomorrow.
The only way we'll know what happened is if we vote on it, but whatever.
Okay, we're at personnel policy, page 17, the first one is what we saw last time. The changes are in the second page 17 for the second reading tonight. So, yes, John?
I forwarded what we had presented to you last meeting to Anna Lee, and then she sent back what's on the second page, and I think that's much better written than the way I had come up with the first time. Covers the same issues, but the way she writes it, it seems to fit a whole lot better.
So if you're all in agreement, you've read through page 2, or the second page of 17, excuse me?
And then, one more thing, that is Article 12 in the personnel policy, that was cut off the previous page. But the part that's crossed out above, that's all that we have there currently. So you can see it's quite a bit more defined.
So you're all set with it, John?
Yes.
How about you folks? You want me to read it?
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay, I need a motion to accept. Oh, gosh,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the Town of Rangeley personnel policy changes to pages, well, actually be to Article 12 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any more discussion? All in favor? New business. Agreement with Dubois King for Hangar Taxi Lane. John?
Well, I see guys here, and Rebecca's here, and Mark's here, so they just had an airport meeting that approved this, just before our meeting, unanimous. Pretty much what it is the current contract for the runway extension. They have to put a 300-foot, roughly paved test strip down. And it makes perfect sense since we already contracted with Dubois and King to come up with a master plan for all the hangars, to have them put the pavement in front of where the hangars are gonna be, designated. So would save on the cost of having to put the pavement down, because the contractor has to build a test strip right now. So I guess the Airport Committee recommended some different dimensions, I'll leave that up to them, but pretty much it to the town, it would save us from having to pay for the cost of pavement when we eventually do this, if we do it separate from the contract we already have with Sargent. So I don't know what the value of that is. You know what the value of that pavement might be for 300 feet?
Yeah, it's 9,000 square feet, so it's equivalent. It's about $5,000 or $6,000 worth of pavement.
So that's my understanding of what this is all about, and, Guy could tell you more about it, Rebecca,
Go ahead, Guy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, while Sargent is mobilized at the airfield, you'd be saving on mobilization to go and just carve out the new dimension that we came to with the contract, I believe, says 35 feet by 300 feet, just under 9,000 square feet.
May I interrupt?
Sure.
Airport Commission met today and it's 45 feet by 200.
That's correct. Yep, we modified it today, that's where I was going, Steve.
Okay.
We did modify it today, the contract says 35 by 300, but we modified it in the Airport Commission to 45 by 200. Made the most sense. The contract itself would be the design or the engineering for Sargent, while they're already mobilized, to go in, carve out the footprint, remove it. They're going to take a lot of the borrowed material that's excess to the runway anyway, so the cost to construct at this point would be to carve that footprint out, put the materials back in, get good compaction, and then to pave it. The paving would be paid for by the airport project. Once again, we have to do 9,000 square feet of paving as a test strip for make sure the material compacts properly and meets FAA specifications. whether we do it on the runway, or we do it as an access road, or we do it in this particular area, which in essence would provide an apron and taxi lane for the first 2 hangars, which are equal to this dimension of what are currently at the airfield, which are 60 feet wide, 70 feet deep. So you would be able to have apron and taxiway in front of those 2 hangars. So you could immediately, if somebody wanted to build a hangar, be able to build hangars. So the contract itself, again, is just the design work for the sub-base materials and then oversight of construction. We minimize the cost for oversight of construction because Peter Bowl, our construction inspector for the runway, is already on the site, so there's not going to be any traveling back and forth. They're already there. He would just do it as an additional duty, with his current duties of inspecting the runway construction project.
Thank you. Any questions for Guy?
Guy, you said that was for the technical observation of construction, because he's already there, that's why that's low?
That's correct. It is lower. Yeah, that's right. We're estimating, Cindy, about 5 days of construction time. So,
Good to know.
yeah,
In conjunction with, it doesn't extend the 7-day period.
we will not extend the 7-day period.
Okay, John?
Just as a not to exceed cost in there, based on their, unit costs that are also in here, but it's roughly $18,000 for task A 2506, task B, design drawings and specifications 9586, general administration, task D 2142, and construction administration 2445. And technical observation of construction, $1,204. So that's just about $18,000.
Any questions for Guy?
So, so just those dimensions will be corrected in this agreement before John signs it, or can you initial and cross out an initial?
You can initial
I think
it.
we can initial and cross it out. Cross out initial.
That's all it is. We've already had our attorney check the language. He's made a few changes, and he's happy with it.
Anything else? How about the board? Anybody else have anything? No? Good. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you.
You need a motion to, you can just do this. This one is part of the project, correct? We don't need a motion for this.
It's savings with the project? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, John.
No, it's an additional contract with DuBois King.
All right.
I think you need a motion for that, so.
So what's the total then? Somewhere around $18,000 means,
17,883.
say again?
17,883.
Go ahead, Al.
Not to exceed
Accept
18.
your motion.
I don't know what the motion actually is, though. What's the wording? What do we need?
Accept this contract from DuBois King for the test area, for the amount that you talked about and the dimensions that we talked about.
Second.
Okay. Yes, indeed. The dimensions will be 45 by 200. Did you get the total, Tricia?
17,883.
Yes.
Okay. Moved and seconded.
So just a couple of, so were there any other changes that the Airport Commission recommended, aside from the dimensions?
No.
Howard?
They were gonna have a long skinny extension from where George Dunn's hangar is.
We
And
changed.
now they're shortening it up so that it would accommodate hangar 3 and hangar 4 conventional type hangars right
Yep.
there.
Thank you.
Okay.
All in favor? No opposed. Thank you. Thanks again, Guy. Appreciate you coming by.
Of course, absolutely.
You doing well?
We did.
Good.
I would have flown with the runways for it.
Are you gonna be here Wednesday?
Yes. I could have gone to Hilton.
Okay. Next is a transfer from general reserve for a union contract.
So,
John.
last year's budget, the town put in 15,000 in anticipation of not finishing the union contract, so we had to go retroactive, there'd be a pool of money to draw from, so the retroactive cost, I believe it was like, what, 3 months after the year started, when you finally settled the contract. So that cost $4,519.89. So that would, we would require you to approve that because it's in a reserve fund.
So this would be for the reserve fund for 2018-19?
Yes, from the general reserve, this would reduce the 15,000 that you put in there by 45,1989. And that would balance the accounts on their salaries that were approved in the final union.
Okay, but the funds were never allocated to cover it?
No,
Is
we
that-
just, because the year's ending,
Right,
we're closing it out now, and those monies would be transferred to each of those departments,
okay, I follow.
and it would come from the general reserve
Okay.
account. So, because it's a reserve account,
Yeah.
it comes to you to, okay, take the money from it.
All right.
You have to approve those withdrawals.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer of $4,519.89 from the general reserve account for the union contract negotiations pay for fiscal year 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. It's a vote. Next is the MMA nominations. What I'd like, if we could, is for you to move the slate as presented. I'll sign it, we'll send it off to him. Unless you have some other suggestions of who you'd like to see.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the Maine Municipal Association voting ballot by nominating or voting for Vice President, one-year term, James Gardner Jr., Town Manager, Town of Easton, and for the Executive Committee members, 3-year terms, John Beekman, Chairman of the Select Board for the Town of Fayette, David Sear, Town Manager for the Town of Mars Hill, and Ivan McPike, Mayor, Town of Hampton.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. I'll sign that out tonight and get it out of here. This one kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. Keith, you still here? What's the, we have a bill from Sunrise View Farms. Where did this stuff go? Trish?
Don Field dropped this off.
Well, the
On the
planter
trash
boxes.
Planters on the trash cans, I saw them do it, talked to them about it.
They go where?
They put planters on, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're.
They put planters on top of the, all the new garbage cans downtown before.
Okay, I just didn't know where they went. So
I
I had to ask a question.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So there's 5 of them, 5 boxes, I'm assuming. Says 5 here.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Who waters them? That would be my wife's question. I withdraw. I need a motion to pay this bill
Oh, yeah.
out of the reserve account
All right.
for
I wanna know
economic
who's gonna
development
water 'em.
reserve.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve $582.45 taken out of the Economic Development Reserve to pay the Sunrise View Farm bill.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Who is gonna water them? Just out of curiosity. I'm assuming,
I'll
Well-
fit it into Parks and someone's schedule. I'll get it in there. I didn't even see that. I didn't know they were even existed. So
well, I mean, it's just, we just spent, what, $200 on plants, probably shouldn't kill them. And they don't look that great when they're dead. Just a thought.
Any more discussion? Go ahead, ask. You good?
No, I was just gonna say, your wife's question's answered.
Maybe not to her dissatisfaction. I'm gonna tell you right now. All in favor? All right, no opposed. Thank you. My wife went away for 3 days, and I spent 3 days watering flowers. I have a new appreciation for the level of commitment
Yeah.
to horticulture. Town manager reports, department head updates, you saw those. You also saw the calendar for the MMA convention in October. I've already told John that I would like to attend. I'd love to have you come on, if you can get time to go.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's in
I'll have
Bangor.
to
Yeah.
check some stuff.
If you can, again,
I'd like to, sure.
it's informational, and
Yep.
Cindy comes back with a wealth of knowledge each
Yeah,
year.
I went last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you can fit it in your schedule. I mean, sometimes it's not easy.
It's well worth going.
Oh, yeah, no, I would absolutely like to go. My children like to give me schedules and then give me ones that change,
Yep.
and then I get emailed ones that change after
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Steve, it's October 2nd and 3rd to Bangor this year. And any of you that can go, let us know so we can get you registered. And the other part of this is we ask you if we can close the town hall so the staff can go like we did last year. I think it's well for them to go, because they all, all the associations, the Clerks Association, Town Managers Association, they all have different parts of a 2-day program.
So it's Wednesday and Thursday.
2nd and 3rd of October.
Yeah, I think last year you guys were pretty, you were good about getting notice out well in advance of the closure, because that's,
Yeah, we can do that.
yeah, that'd be good.
If it's okay with you folks.
Yeah. Is there any heartburn over that from anybody? No? All right. So be it. God bless America. Thank you. Next up is our county tax bill. Sort of an FYI, this year we are sending to the county $672,154.50.
Half of Allen Street.
That puts it in a stark perspective. Half of Allen Street.
Yeah. Not much we can do about it.
Yep. Is this county tax piece of paper that we have here, is it posted out front so people can see it? Could it be? Yeah, I think that'd be nice to be able to say,
So they know.
that's how much you spent and here's your description.
Yeah.
But that's just my way of thinking. Select Board Communications. Thanks to Cindy for contacting the town manager for providing us with, I was going to do that tonight, I actually have the card with me. 10 best practices of New England elected officials, that's in your packet. It's a good piece of information. 2 pages. Again, thank you, Cindy, for bringing that up. We also, I was asked to talk about the cell phone towers by Ethan. And so, if it's all right with you, Ethan, the thing that Cindy instilled in me a long time ago is to get it on the agenda.
Right.
But I would request that you go see Tom Lillis and talk to him about the one at the top of Cemetery Hill, and then town manager will fill you in on what's going on here.
Okay.
And then you can get some answers for it, because there are still some unanswered questions in
Yep.
that. Yep.
What is the status of the tower here?
It's all done, and they're ready to turn it over to us. It's gonna be ours, and then I believe in the contract, it's like 20,000 a year. We've seen that yet?
It's fully operational.
20,000 a year
It's fully
range.
operational at this moment?
Yeah, but it's only to Verizon customers.
Okay,
So if there is no benefit to any other customer in town unless you have a Verizon contract.
yeah, okay.
So that's be the one clear point that nobody understands, is that we have, yes, the town has a new cell phone tower, but it benefits a very, very limited population.
Yeah.
And the one on the hill takes care of AT&T, so get over it. Actually, that's T-Mobile.
Those
We've
are
been
the
told it
questions
was
that I have.
AT&T, and today they corrected us and said it's T-Mobile.
On a positive note, what I was told through an individual who won't ever admit this, but T-Mobile is making a large push in the Northeast to put up multiple towers, and they say that that will be a very, very competitive market. So keep your eyes open for that.
And FYI, TracFone also uses the same towers as Verizon.
Correct.
I don't know about the rest of you, but this seems like duplicity on duplicity on duplicity. You know, let's have a legislative agreement here. You put a cell phone tower up, you rent to every one of them. Instead of having multiple towers everywhere doing the same damn
They
thing.
all have to want to rent from it. They all have to want to put their equipment on it, not all of them do.
Well, if they want the market share,
Correct.
then they get on the tower. I'm getting in too deep here, I apologize, but go ahead.
This is secondhand information. I went to the Land Use Regulation Commission hearing last Wednesday about the proposed cell tower up on Dallas Hill. And the presenters there said that the state of Maine has entered into a contract with AT&T to provide cell tower coverage that will, in rural areas, to benefit broadband and cell phone communications where it's lacking. And they showed a big red elliptical circle on the top of Dallas Hill and asked the presenter to find a tower site inside of that thing and that this is going to be repeated, through rural areas. I guess some parts have already been served. I believe that one at St. Louis is also part of the AT&T system. But
There's a lot of information that we gotta get.
But I don't, like I say, this is secondhand, I haven't had a chance to troop that out, but at least this is what the presenters told the commissioners. They didn't say anything about St. Louis's, but at Christmas time, Brian told me it was AT&T, and then these presenters were saying that the state of Maine has contracted with AT&T to provide this service throughout rural Maine.
Go ahead, John.
I remember in the contract that we have with Verizon out here, when they turn it over to us, if we lease space to somebody else, a competitor, then that competitor has to pay half the construction cost of what they just incurred, and I believe that's around $150,000 is what they just spent to build that thing. So, and then they would have to pay probably half the annual maintenance fee lease fee that they're gonna pay us. So keep in mind, when we start receiving that money, we ought to reserve a bunch of it, because I remember the contract said that we were responsible for maintaining it. So we better have some money in a reserve fund, 5 years from now, it might get hit by lightning or something, who knows?
Well, if Ethan is okay with this, why not at the next meeting, somebody come to us with a plan on how we're going to manage this and its funding, or the funding stream we're going to get, where it goes. And then if you have any ancillary questions associated with this, get it to them, we'll get it on the agenda and we'll fire away.
Okay.
That sound good?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I wanted to know is there any way that we could allow John, Tom, Keith, somebody to reach out to the biggest carrier for our town, which we have all our contracts through US Cellular, and say, listen, this is what's going on, what's it gonna take to get you to jump on this new tower or that one, but maybe we need other information before that.
Oh, that's good question. Yeah.
I have US Cellular in Mexico, where they have an office there, so.
Yeah.
But I still get sporadic coverage up there, not 100%, but if I move with 100 yards.
I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, US Cellular is still the best.
So on Allen Street, it's
You got a question?
I find this interesting, what John was saying about the details of the contract, because when the previous town manager presented the tower going in here, he stated that the town of Rangeley was going to be able to lease a space to some other carrier, and I thought he said there were no strings attached, there could be anybody, but it sounds like there's lots of strings
Contracts,
attached there,
yeah.
which, it surprised me that, there wouldn't be any strings attached, but, that's the
We have-
way it was presented to you folks.
We have the top 20 feet. They added 20 feet to the top of that for our use. I don't think it's for a competitor. It's for the fire department or the police department.
It actually, it is, the 20 feet could, or it has sufficient room to have another carrier on that tower.
So you could piggyback.
Correct, so the question was asked, not to keep going on this conversation, I apologize. The question was, or was told me the other day when I talked to the representative out back was, he questioned why Verizon wasn't put at the top. The answer to that is there's an umbrella. They want to keep that umbrella snug in the town, so that you don't have people in Reddington, per se, that say, look, I have Verizon, I have 2 bars, but I can't make a phone call. The problem with that becomes your phone is far less capable of receiving a signal than that tower is to push that, amplify that signal out. So as fancy as our phones are today with technology and ability to use the internet, play games, et cetera, most of that energy is taken just for those tasks and not for that signal generation. So they keep that signal lower, closer to town, so that people that are in the proximity of Rangeley, downtown Rangeley, have that capability. So from henceforth, the ability of that is the carrier can now come in above them and push their umbrella out a little bit further, and/or contract with them to utilize the signal that they have currently.
Gotta love that customer service approach, huh? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have something to add. Steve Hall, who's a local guy, lives in Dallas Plantation, reached out to me. For those of you who may not know what he does, he is an energy systems professional. Has his own company, SGH Energy Resources LLC, and he asked if the town of Rangeley had ever considered solar. And I said, well, your timing's spot on. And I go, we're gathering information, so he would like to attend our next selectmen's meeting and discuss solar, take questions, and all that. So I just wanted to put that out there. He also asked, Keith, he's familiar with the layout of Chick Hill, but he would like a closer look. So I'm going to give him your contact information, okay? John's as well, and he can coordinate that with you. He said something, because of the new legislation that has just recently passed by Governor Mills, it's made solar a lot, they have to jump through fewer hoops, it's less expensive, and he'll talk to us about that at our August 5th meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dave, anything on select board communications?
Nope.
Donnie?
No.
All right, Steve Philbrick's got 2. First of all, Donnie's idea was brought to me a little bit ago, and I want to get it on the front burner here and see where we can go, or if we're going to go anywhere with this. Apparently in the past, there's been an idea of having the police located on this corner lot down here, which I call the Chuck Ladd parking lot.
It's 3 School Street.
One of many.
But, yeah. And I'm not sure how to proceed with this thing, but I want it on, it's somewhere, and if Donnie wants to spearhead this thing, then it'd be awesome.
No problem.
Okay.
I've been trying to do this for years.
Yep, so, and see where we go with this thing, see if that's something that town
Wanna go
wants,
talk
we
to
want,
both?
whatever.
Yeah.
And then,
Sheets.
and then, yep, and thank you very much for that. I had talked to you, John, about the fish screen and about the stairwell outside here. Can you want Keith to give us an update of where we are? Or-
He's, I think your son was gonna do it this week or next week, Keith?
He's busy, I believe it's next week, we referred to me on the phone.
Yeah, that's the screen part. What about the planking on the top where the kids can get on it?
Quinn had mentioned that he's going to coordinate with Mike and Mike,
All right,
or I can touch base also.
is there any opportunity for you to follow through to sort of kick this one into gear? I mean, give us some time frames, because summer is with the 15th of July and kids head out of here in a month. I'd like to see them on that thing fishing, because that's general rule fishing as of this year. Be nice to see them be able to use it. And what about the stairwell outside here? I'm sorry?
Maybe you ought to use a little of your power.
What? I think Keith might have a little bit more push and shove on that one than I would. But what about the stairs out here, Keith?
It just got, DigSafe just came, today, or Friday, I'm sorry. So we're making progress. My plan, although it's not written, would be essentially to kind of keep that same footprint. I mean, there are other options, but I think that's cost effective. Keep the same footprint, pull the concrete out of the ramp currently, pave it, still that same price of $3,000. We'll cut the railings off, clean them up, repaint them, put new footers in for those. And then I'd like to square off pull all the shrubbery out of the front, change that to a annual planting garden, square that off, kind of, right now it angles out past the garage, which obviously is intentional based on the corner of the building there. But I like to square that off for aesthetics and really just kind of keep that same look, but be pavement and have better shrubbery up front or planters.
You have a timeline for this?
I'm hoping right off. Now that it's dig safe.
Okay.
Earl's, the escalator just got fixed, the escalator just got repaired. The intention is to bring the escalator here, we'll pull everything in motion, pull that out, I'll coordinate with Pike to get everything paid back in, and we will, I'll get some final numbers together on safety, hopefully in the next 2 weeks or a month, based on schedules.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Good. Need a motion to go into executive session.
Chairman, I make a motion we go to an executive session pursuant to MSRA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Subsection 405(6)C and 405(6)B.
Correct. Yep.
D?
E is an
Okay.
Edward.
D.
Second.
Thank you. That's at 7:10.